Today I'm talking about my 5 least liked new movies of 2024. Fair warning, I have some controversial opinions. And this is out of a total of 114 new movies from across the year. Hey, today I'm talking about the new comedy film Y2K. This was co-written and directed by Kyle Mooney and stars a handful of people you might recognize. And the basic premise is it is 1999 and this high school boy has this big old crush on one of his classmates who he's kind of been talking to a bit. But wouldn't you know it, after it strikes midnight, bringing in the new millennium, all hell breaks loose as there is a robot uprising. Man, this is a real mess of a film. I really wanted to like this film too, but oh god, it really missed the mark. I like the concept. I think the concept is really good. Having Y2K actually play out, that's fun. Having it be this interesting robot uprising is a choice. I don't know if I would have made that choice, but it leads to some fun stuff. There's definitely some really cool, interesting effects. Like, they definitely put money and effort into making these out there, let's just say, creature effects. The cast itself was definitely solid. They all did what they were supposed to do. It's always nice to see Rachel Zegler. She's definitely a delightful, charming lead. I feel like the biggest issue with the film is that things just kind of happen. So like, at the party, the best friend character, for some reason, drops a really embarrassing fact about the main character. But he does it for no reason. He doesn't do it because he's absent-minded. He definitely intentionally did it and had an opportunity to not tell the story. He wasn't like trying to get back at the main character. He wasn't trying to teach him a lesson. He wasn't trying to like bring him out of his shell. He wasn't trying to show off or brag or belittle him. He just kind of said it. And there really isn't a payoff to it. It's just kind of a joke that happens for like 3 minutes and then goes away forever. Or like, once the killing started, so much of it just happened in such an unsatisfying way. Like, there's a very stereotypical bully character who I incredibly hated. So good job, movie, for doing that. Honestly, that wasn't sarcastic. And I was so looking forward to his death, but it just kind of like happened. It came out of nowhere and then was just done in an instant. And I'm like, man, I've been waiting for this moment for like 15 minutes. And it's just like a firework that fizzles out. Another one that I definitely saw a lot of other people complaining about is one of the lead characters dies really early in the film, and it doesn't make sense. Like, story-wise, emotional-wise, it doesn't make any sense. It just kind of happens, and then like, it's supposed to be the emotional core throughout the rest of the film, but it just felt so strange. And then there's like other characters that just like stick around for way longer than I thought they should. We got the main boy and his love interest. They have to survive for at least most of the film. But then what other 3 characters are going to bring along? Who knows? They're just random names out of a hat. And really, just like in general, none of the emotions worked. And a lot of the jokes just didn't work either. I really did not laugh throughout the film. There was a guy behind me who laughed. He was essentially the only person in the theater who was laughing. So I'm so happy for that guy for having a good, fun time. I wish I was him, because I really didn't enjoy this film. There are bits and pieces that I liked, but as a whole, it was definitely just a big mess of a film. So would I recommend it? No. Like, maybe as like background noise, or if you really want to appreciate some good looking creature effects, but like, man, no, it's really a disaster of a film, so nah. Hey, today I'm talking about the new comedy drama film Goodrich. This stars Michael Keaton and features Mila Kunis and some other people you'd recognize. And the basic premise is Michael plays this man who has an adult child in her 30s who's having her first kid herself, while he also has 2 elementary school age children that he suddenly now has to be full-time taking care of on his own. own. But he also has this business that he's been going at for decades that may be kind of a bit struggling. And it's an interesting mess of a film. I think there's definitely really good concepts within the film. An adult child coping with how their parent is now like a better parent to these dramatically younger siblings than they ever were to you. That's an interesting concept that barely gets touched on. Mila gives a really great monologue that's featured in the trailer, rightfully so, because she crushed it, and like looking at that scene by itself is such a great monologue, but it absolutely does not fit within the context of the film, really just comes out of nowhere, doesn't make any sense. Like her comments about him being father of the year suddenly, it's like, no, he's not been father of the year, even to these new makeup kids. Like he's just kind of barely getting by. A really strange thing that happened was that a lot of scenes ended by something suddenly happening, a lot of times it being like very tonally different and interrupting what was happening, derailing things. And at one point, Mila's character gets annoyed at him because of that, but it's like, oh, his other kid is like sick or something, so he has to go deal with that. And it's like, well, why are you annoyed with him? He can't control his child being sick. What is the point of this? Like if it was a work-related thing, yeah, sure, it's understandable that he's continuing to prioritize work over his relationship with the people that he loves, which is what he's been doing his entire life, and stop doing that would be character growth. But he's literally trying to care for his child. So why are you being such a dick about this? That's just one of many examples. There's so many scenes that end like that though, of just like, and now suddenly this other thing. I also don't really understand what it was going for. It really felt just like a mishmash of lots of different ideas that didn't really fully flow together. There were really some bad monologues in there too. Like I remember early on Michael was giving a speech about something and I was just like, this is not working. I will say Michael's charisma is definitely there and he's definitely charming. Also little Leia's in this and she's always a delight to see, and she definitely is a standout here again. So I didn't put this movie in the didn't like, because there are kernels of things that I like within it, but it is definitely not a well-made film and I wouldn't recommend it. It's a real mess of an experience. Hey, today I'm talking about the new movie, Lisa Frankenstein. This stars the delightful Catherine Newton and Cole Spruce. This was written by Diablo Cody, and this is the directorial debut of Zelda Williams. And the basic premise is, it is 1989, and Lisa is just struggle bussing through life. She had to go to new school, and people are just kind of terrible there, in particular her new stepmother. But then after a night of partying, this dead guy comes back to life and maybe there's a romance a-brewing. So yeah, I definitely thought this was a comedy going into it, and not a single person in my theater laughed once, so that was interesting. Okay, what did I like about this movie? I love Catherine Newton in general. I've seen all of her movies except for one, and she's always the standout of any movie she's in. She's delightful, she's charming. In this one in particular, she's gorgeous. Got a big old crush on her. So like, she was nice as the lead. I also really loved all of her outfits. They got progressively more cool and fun, and they're instantly iconic, which is just great. What didn't I like about this movie? I really wanted to like this movie more than I did. And I'm just like frustrated with how much I'm just like, I just didn't care for this movie. I liked its style. Its style was really great, but I don't know if it was really saying anything. What is its messaging? What is its morals? And then like tonally, it felt like it was all over the place. Like this is basically just a light drama, which just felt so strange. And then like, the thing that really stood out was Lisa's character journey. In particular, how like, it'll be the next scene and suddenly her character will just be essentially a new character. Just like, she gets worse and worse as a person, but it doesn't feel like we're flowing to that. Like a really great example of things jumping suddenly was the scene where she first meets the monster. Because like, the monster breaks into the house, chases her around the house, they eventually get outside, and then she gets away from the monster, she gets back inside, and it's like, okay, nice, she can relax now. But turns out the monster is somehow inside before her, and he's fallen down and listening to music. How did he get inside? And then what continues to be weird is that like, so they sort of kind of maybe bond over music for a second, and then it jumps from that to suddenly in the next scene, she's like, oh, I gotta hide you, because she's gonna keep him, and she likes this guy now, and they're they're like BFFs. And it's like, well, you're trying to do the E.T. thing, but like the scene prior wasn't a super heartfelt moment. It was kind of a nice moment, but not really. You didn't do a lot. Plus, like, why does she give a shit about this thing? Why does she want to keep it? Why does she want to keep it a secret? Why doesn't she just want to tell everyone about it? Because if she doesn't tell everyone about it, then her stepmom's gonna freak out at her for like destroying the main floor, which she does do. So why did she try to hide the thing that she just met and was just trying to kill her? Like, why does she give a shit about this? So yeah, no. As much as I wanted to really love this movie and enjoy it, it was just okay. Would I recommend it? I would say wait till it's on streaming if you're like really curious about it. You do not need to go out to the movie theater to see this. Like, it's fine. It has some nice moments, but like, man, did they miss the mark with this one. Hey, today I'm talking about the new horror thriller film, Strange Darling. The basic premise is someone is a serial killer. Who could it be? I will say the film is definitely shot very well. It looks good. They did a good job with like holding on shots that needed to be held, letting scenes and emotions just play out. Most of the actors did a good job. That's about it, really. One of my biggest complaints about the film is the main character, the lady. She's just insufferable. I hate her so much. I don't think we're really supposed to like her, but like, she is just an incredibly fundamentally unlikable character who I just wanted to stop talking. Like, I just didn't like any time she was on screen, but that's like most of the movie is her on screen. So I'm just like, there's nothing I could do there. And it felt like the movie felt that it was being clever for having her be a woman. But as I was watching the movie, I'm like, okay, think about this for a second. If the main character was actually a man, would I still find them this unsufferable? And I'm like, oh hell yeah, I would hate them just as much. This is such a terrible character. Like, when you have a main character who is unlikable and insufferable, it's a very hard and nuanced thing to do. Most directors really shouldn't try for that because it's so easy to miss the mark with it. But what really kills me with this film is that I think it wants to be this feminist film because it has a strong woman in the lead role, and it's also playing into women can be mean and evil too. So like, you know, we don't always have to put women up on a pedestal. We can have them be the whole range of human existence, which I get that. I get what they're going for. But at the same time, this film really feels like a male's fantasy of what a domineering woman would be like. It feels very masturbatory to me. Like, the sex scene stuff is just so male gazy. It's just so bad. Like, it's just so not the feminist idea that they think they're going for. I mean, the main character is in her underwear for like half of the movie. And like, you can have a woman scantily clad and that being very empowering, but it definitely does not feel that way for this film. The biggest nail in the coffin for me is how multiple times throughout the film have her play this victim of sexual or domestic abuse. And then she uses that as a way to manipulate those around them, usually to their own detriment. The best example is a scene near the end of the film where some police show up at the house where they're at, and the way she stages it makes it look like she was just raped. And the woman cop is like, hey, we gotta protect this woman. Clearly she's not in a great place. Clearly she's just been raped and all that stuff. We have to believe her. And the veteran man cop is like, well, hold on. We don't actually know what happened here. We have protocols we need to follow. We need to be safe because clearly some crazy shit has just went down as there's like multiple dead bodies and blood everywhere. And the woman officer is like, how dare you, man, believe women. You're so misogynistic. And he's like, I'm not, but like, dude, this is an insane thing to come across. We can't just like jump into it without looking first. And he's 100% right. He dies because he was guilted into thinking he's a misogynist. And it's like, what is this film trying to say about feminist ideas, about listening to women who are victims of sexual assault and rape and domestic abuse? And like, what is it going for? What are the morals of this film? So yeah, no, I really truly despise this film and I would not recommend it. I will say I am in the dramatic minority. This film has gotten all sorts of praise. I don't understand that whatsoever. Just glancing at it, it does look pretty and it is well made, but like actually paying attention to the subject matter, I'm like, yeah, no, this is gross as So yeah, I did not care for this movie and I would not recommend it. Hey, Jim, talking about the new comedy satire film, Rumours. Rumours. This stars Kate Blanchett and a handful of other actors, some of whom I'm sure you would recognize. And the basic premise is it is the G7 summit. And if you're unfamiliar, that's where the leaders of 7 nations come together to deal with whatever crisis is currently happening. But wouldn't you know it, the apocalypse happens. And man oh man, did I not care for this movie. I kept waiting for it to be funny, and I'm still waiting for it to be funny. I did not laugh at all, and I'm like, this is supposed to be a comedy, right? It really felt to me like an SNL skit that just isn't working, but they have to just double down on it because they can't stop it. And it just keeps going and going and going and going, and it never hits its mark. And like, oftentimes with films like these, I feel like I don't understand the point, like I'm missing something fundamental about it. But with this one, I'm like, no, I definitely understand it. They state stuff pretty clearly because these 7 leaders are just a metaphor for their entire nation. And it's really just about how these powerful nations are too busy debating about hypothetical crises and not actually dealing with actual legitimate crises that are happening around them because they're too busy having their heads up their own ass. And like the zombie apocalypse thing that's happening, it could be a lot of different things. I kind of lean towards maybe it's about like fascism. It's just these countries are turning a blind eye to how fascism is consuming the world because they're too self-important. And so like, yeah, I get it. I understand this movie. I just don't think it's funny, and I don't think it works. Like, the zombies masturbate all the time, and it's like, that's so dumb. And I hate the sounds the zombies make. There's like a summer camp aspect of the film too that I'm just like, this is just dumb. I hate everything about this. 2 characters within the film spend a majority of the film sleeping, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of about right. That you could probably just fall asleep while watching the movie and occasionally wake up and you'll get the gist of everything that's happening. So yeah, no, I did not care for this movie, and I would not recommend it. It got good reviews elsewhere, and I'm like, how? It's so bad. So yeah, no, don't watch it.